Hello and welcome to part 4 of our tutorial series on creating a transactional app using managed scenario in SAP RAP. In today's session, we will understand about the actions that we can perform using SAP RAP. We will try to understand what uh, actions are, how, and we will try to implement one action to our application that will actually shuffle the entity status uh, active from yes to no and vice versa. What actions are? Now, in actions in SAP, they are non-standard modifying operations. They are non-standard, means we have to write it, but they will modify the values in any instance of a business entity. And that is part of the business logic. The use case that we will actually be doing, and majorly it is been used is to change few of the values here and there by just click of a button. So we need to provide a button to the action on the list report or object page or both for the end user to click and execute the operation. And this is how the triggering will happen. Now to uh, trigger an action, a corresponding trigger is required, and that can be triggered from uh, a, a button from a Fury interface, like what we will be doing in our today's session. It can be also called internally by uh, executing modify with execute statement of EML and by other RAPBO via EML as well. Now, if you don't know what EML is all about, I would highly recommend you to please go and watch my earlier uh, series on understanding EML in SAP RAP. Okay, so let us now move on and understand how we can actually implement the actions in our transactional app in SAP RAP. So first thing first, let us first understand how many types of actions are there. Actions are defined in always in the behavior definition for an entity, and you can define it for each entity you want in that particular business object. Now, actions are majorly of three types: the internal action, factory action, static action. Save action is not defined, rather it is a part of a save sequence that maybe when I will create a unmanaged scenario. At that point in time, save sequence is something that we will have to write on our own. With the managed scenario, as we have seen earlier in our previous videos, that create, update, and delete are managed by the framework. So save actions will not be part of this series. Now, what internal action is? Now, internal action is something that will be executable by the OData request as well as by the EML from within the same or different BO. So if you have the one or multiple BOs in your application, by using the EML or by uh, just clicking a button, you can actually call that action. Okay. An internal action can only be accessed from the business logic inside the business object implementation, such as from a determination or from another action. You cannot call it from anywhere. So it has to be inside the behavior pool of the same business object. Similarly, we have factory actions. Now, what factory actions are? Factory actions are generally used to copy and one instance of an entity as and allow the end user to go and change it. So generally, whenever a copy contact in our case will be a classic example where we will just select one entity of the contact and just say copy, and it will copy that instance and move us to the object page where we can actually go and change. Uh, this is usually handled by the factory actions, okay, and it offers the percentage CID. So far, we have seen, and you might have also seen in our previous EML that we have majorly used percentage TKY, the transactional key, but here it will be a content ID that will be actually uh, given to us by the with the selected record that we want to copy. At the same time, if you see the static entity, it will be applicable across the complete entity, not the instance of any entity. That means you can create a blank entity. In our case, we say create a blank contact entity without uh, any values, or with if you want to give some default values. Like in our case, the default value for status will be active always whenever a create entity will be created. Those kind of things can be done using the static. Okay. Save actions are triggered during the save sequence. We will not be discussing it here. There are 5 methods in save sequence that we'll have to manage ourselves using the EML when and this will be part of unmanaged scenario in SAP RAP. Moving ahead, the how we have now once we have defined the action in the behavior method, we need to actually implement the same in behavior pool as well. And as you can see, it creates a method with the action name for modify for action. Okay, so it will create a for action method, and it will uh, get the context status. Okay, whenever there is a button that is clicked, and it will always return back the result. Okay, now how will this is just when you define the behavior definition, a method has to be created, and when we just say okay, create the method implementation, it will add this particular method definition to the behavior pool class or the local handler class. Now, how will we actually go and add a button on our application? That will be done using this command type for action here. Type for action. Okay, this is what is the command that we will have to give in our metadata extraction file, or if you are directly using annotations in your CDS entity, you have to give this. What it says is the type will be for action. What that action is nothing but defined in your data action. It will be exactly the same as the set status method that we have here. Okay, or nothing but the action name that you have defined in your behavior definition. Label is just a label that you want to display on that button. Okay, this is how we define. Now, finally, once this has been done, the last part that is remaining is to implement the method set status to change the properties of the selected entity or entities. How that we will be doing, that will be done in the method implementation in behavior pool class. What we do is what we first read the all the selected entities by using the read EML statement, then using the read EML. When once we get that entries that are being selected, we just loop through that and then change the property, whatever property we need to change using the normal uh, wrap. Finally, we have to actually send it, modify it using the EML statement. Okay, using the modify with update that will modify the entity properties. Finally, we have to send the result back in the result parameter that we had seen earlier as a parameter that is actually changing parameter in this particular method. With that, and let us get into the system and understand how we can actually implement this whole logic, okay, our application. So let's go to our Eclipse now. And in our Eclipse, as we have seen, the first thing is we need to go to our behavior definition. And in our behavior definition, we have to define an action. Now the actions are defined using action command, the action name. I'm saying set is status as my action name, and what it will it will return a result, and that result will be only one entity, one instance of the particular entity, and that will be a self-reference. Okay. As soon as you define this action, okay, it will it it will when you activate it, it says the activation is finished with an warning, and the warning says that the set status is not implemented. And as can be seen that okay, set status is not implemented is the warning that is been given. To implement this, as we have seen in our earlier method, you just click here, okay, and that will actually give you add a method in the class, either this way, or you select on the set status, press control 1, and that will also load the pop-up for you. Double click on it, and the set status method here will be created for us. Now, the set status method, as we have seen, it will actually give us all the keys, okay, which will be and the action is for the contact set status action, and we will have to pass the result back in the result parameter. Okay. Now, this is what we have developed so far for in the behavior. Now, how it will go and be added to our application is we go to our metadata extension, and in any of the field, uh, you just go and say that, okay, I need to actually pass the type there. So in this case, let me just take it on the first name, doesn't matter which uh, property you are actually assigning this to. You just say, I now have something called type, and the type is not standard now, but it will should be for action type. With the for action type, what is the data action? And this data action should be set status, the same as we have, and the label is like we will say the label should be change status. Okay, this is what we will define, and the same thing should go in my line item as well. So let me put it in my line item as well here, so that it will be applicable in both the pages, the list report as well as our object page. Let me quickly activate it. So what we have done is we have actually gone and added the type for action, data action with the method name, and the label to that particular thing in both line item as well as in identification. Okay, this is what we have done. Now let us see what will happen to our application after this change that we have done. So it will get us here. Let me refresh my application and see what is the change that we are getting here. And there is no change there. Okay. So let me just go and check what we have done in our Eclipse. Have we activated everything? Yes. Okay. So now we have actually created this. Let me activate this again. So this is activated, that is gone. Now in our behavior definition for the contact, we have to use the action there. This is very important step. Okay. Use action, and the action name is set status action. Once you use that, then only it will be projected to the consumption entity view, and from there that behavior will be moved to service definition. Now let us go and check in our application what is the change in the status now. And as can be seen, a change status button is actually there. When you click on any of the instance, it will be enabled. When no instance is selected, it will be disabled. Now, even if it is selected and if I say change, nothing is happening there. Rather, it is actually giving me this page with a blank value because nothing is being written from that set status uh, method. Now, to implement this method, what we have to do is we will have to again go to our Eclipse, and in our Eclipse, we will have to go and implement that class. Now, how that implementation will be done is, as we know that we already have keys here. So the first uh, thing that we have to do is we have to read the selected entities. Now we will say read entities of, and our entity name is GMS AKS underscore I underscore contact M. This is our entity, our business object. Okay, the behavior definition for which we have defined. Now, the entity name that we have to read is, if you say it has only contact entity and all fields with value corresponding to, with, not value, with corresponding key. Okay, how it will do is it will just read the entries from that particular field, and it will give us back the result, and that we can store in say LT contact table. Okay, shift F1 to just do it. Now you see here it says there is a warning here. What warning it is saying? That when calling your own behavior implementation, in local mode has to be used so that we can ignore the authorization there. In local mode, when you do, the authorization will be skipped. So now what has it has done is it is actually given us all the contact entities, the instances of the contact entities that are selected. Now with this contact entity, what we have to do, we have to actually update the field, okay, so that if the value is um, active, it will be inactive. Active yes or no, no to yes. We have to do it that way. So let us just see. Then we'll say, okay, let's loop at LT contact into say data ls contact. Okay, we have to loop it completely and loop. Now what we have to do here, we have to first understand what is the status value. So I will say data LV status is equal to condition if ls ls contact condition when ls contact dash our field name is active. If this is equal to abap true, that means it is already active. Then our LV status should be abap false, else it should be abap true. Okay, this is what our LV status will be. So what we are doing here is we are just defining a variable that will hold the value that needs to be updated. Now, what we have to do is now we have to modify the entity. So for modifying the entity, what we have to do, we have to use the modify statement of modify entities of zmaks underscore I underscore contact m in local mode. And what we have to update, we have to update the field, entity first, entity contact, and we have to update what? Update field. What field we have to update? We have to update the active field, okay? And what is the value that we have to update with? With value. Now, what we have to actually give there are two things, okay? We can actually do it twice, okay? Now, what we will do? We will say that okay, since we are now updating, we have to update two things. One is the status and one is the transactional key. Okay. So first we'll say okay, percentage tky is equal to our ls contact, whatever we are reading, percentage tky. This is the first value that we have to pass, and the second value that we have to pass is the nothing but the our active is nothing but our LV status. Okay, this is what we have to pass. Okay, once that is done, modify, it will either fail or if it is failed, then it will go into failed and reported structure. Okay, now finally, uh, with value, update field with value. No, let us do it the other way around. Let us do it not do it this way. So we can directly update with value, and this value we can actually go and do a for loop inside for LWA in LT contact, LWA contact in LT contact. Okay. Uh, okay. Then what we have to pass? We have to pass back percentage TKY, percentage TKY is equal to LWA contact dash percentage TKY, and the second one will be active is equal to, now this active should be our condition. And what that condition would be, let me just get it down. Active should be nothing but a condition value when LWA contact dash active is equal to ABAP true, then we say please pass it as ABAP false, else pass it as ABAP true. Okay, so we just no need to actually loop it here. That is fine. We just modify, and at the same time, once you have modified all the values, you have to return that value back. Okay, let me put this directly here. Condition when ABAP true, then else ABAP false. Okay, so and the entry is modified here now. Now let us go and pass the value back. The change and the change instances back to front end. Okay, and how we will do it is we will have to say result is equal to in the result we have to actually pass the value back again for the value hash. Okay, in this we will say for again for LWA contact in in LT contact. Now this time what we have to pass? We have to pass two things. One is percentage TKY as usual is equal to LWA contact dash percentage TKY. And the second thing that we need to actually pass should be the percentage parameters. Okay. Parameter will actually always have, if you can see here, it will always have the the parameter will always have the input structure of that thing. Okay, so everything will go in parameter. So parameter is nothing but is equal to LWA contact. Okay, parameter will be nothing but that LWA contact, that record that we are actually passing. Okay, control F3. Let us now see what happens to our application now. So let us refresh the application now and see what is happening. Let's go it and then we select this. The status is no currently, and now I am just clicking the change status and you see the status is now changed. I have selected two entries and now I am actually doing it. So the yes became no and the no became yes. So this is the whole functionality that we can do using the actions in SAP RAP. Okay. With that, I will stop here. If you have any questions, please uh, put that in the comments. I will try to read and reply as much as possible. And again, a humble request, it takes more time and effort to actually create these videos. So request to please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. With that, thank you and happy learning.